was also really bizarre because no one had thought we were coming back, so they didn't save anything. There were no sets waiting for us to come do more episodes. So
also, it happened really quickly.
Yes, that's true. It came together really quickly. Like, I think there was some musical using the backlot. Remember when NBC was doing those live musicals, and they were like,
Grease or something.
yeah, they were like, we got to get Grease out of here. You know, we're not going to make it. We need the gazebo back. So anyway, this is the first time that I got to sort of tell some of the stories about how I started out and the really crummy jobs I had, and how it got to be sitting here in this Queen's chair.
Right. Yeah. Now, what made you? What was the first impulse? This is a book of essays, obviously, but when you wrote your first novel, what was the impulse that led you there in terms of like, I'm going to write a novel today?
I don't know.
Okay, next question.
I don't know why. I always say this, but and it sounds like I'm complimenting myself, and I really don't.
We're all fine if you do.
No.
Yeah. She never does it, ever.
I tend to pick things up that are going to be dissected by the public. Like, I'm like, why don't I just do a nice quiet hobby and sit at home and like enjoy my puzzle or whatever? And I just like don't. I'm an avid reader. I love books. I grew up reading like everybody in here. I'm so unique in that I grew up reading.
She can read.
You can't even imagine
Beautiful.
what that's like. So, because of my unique gifts, being able to string a couple letters together, it was, again, in talking about reflection and just sort of connecting to yourself at different times, I firstly was in a show that I didn't have a 14-hour day, which was Parenthood was like a different shot. Thank you. Gilmore Girls was like theater. Every word as written, exactly as it should be, and long, long takes. So that would mean if somebody made a little mistake, cameraman or plane flies overhead or you drop a line, you have to go back to the beginning and get it kind of perfectly, and that takes a long time. As opposed to on Parenthood, they would more often set us all up in a room, kind of light the whole room, and then have 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 cameras going all at once, grabbing different coverage. So you could talk all over each other, you could make some lines up, you could improvise. It wasn't as precise, which I think really matches the tone of that show. It's like a big, crazy family, and you want it to be very loose. But I just had a different day of work, and I found myself in my trailer one day, done for the day, and I thought, well, now what do I do? Like, what do people? It was still daylight. and it, in that moment, because I don't think, rarely do pivotal moments turn on a dime, but this was a moment where I thought, who was that person who thought I could get to sitting in a trailer on the Universal lot in Los Angeles? Like, who was that? There's no show business in my family. There was no reality shows. There was no social media. There was nothing to make me think that there was a path to follow, that it was a logical career path as an actor. There was no, and it was just kind of a blind drive. And I guess I believed in myself, but I don't think it felt like that at the time. I just believed in working hard and got maybe enough little encouragement here and there to keep going. But so the impetus for the novel was, I didn't want to write the real story. I mean, it's not, it just, to me, it already was a fictional character almost because it was so long ago. And so I thought, let me just connect to that time. Also, things had changed so much in the business, like the way we auditioned and came up in New York in the 90s or whatever, just doesn't exist anymore. People are on tape now and they're doing stuff in their house. So I was nostalgic for that time, even as difficult as it was, and so that's where the novel came from.
Someday.
Yeah.
Thank you. When you
decide or are led to sit down to do a novel as opposed to a book of essays, is your writing and creative process different for either of those?
Here's my writing creative process. I should really organize the fridge. It just seems like there's a lot. You know what I need to figure out? What's the best red lipstick? Because if you don't have the exact right, this is my process. Like, I'm doing everything to get in my own way and like delay the start of working at all. The essays have been a better process for me because they come to me differently. They come to me as like a sentence, an idea, a title rather. And then I can kind of put it on paper and let it be for a minute and kind of see if it grows into something that warrants an entire essay. Sometimes I just have an idea for something. There's a chapter in the book called Ryan Gosling Cannot Confirm, which is not no diss on Ryan Gosling. I think it's fantastic. It was just this phrase that kept coming up over this booking, that he had a booking and I had a booking for a show, and it had nothing to do with me or him really, but they just kept saying to me, I was like, well, what's going on with that? And they were like, well, Ryan Gosling cannot confirm. I was like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? They're like, well, if he can't confirm, then you can't confirm, because unless he's confirmed, you can't be confirmed. And because if he doesn't confirm, they have to confirm somebody else, then you might have to. Like, I was like, what? And it just made me think about, in a broader sense, like these weird Hollywood hierarchies that you just wouldn't even know existed until you got there, and then once you get there, you don't know how to do it. Like it's just these strange kind of rules or whatever, or like there should be some sort of guidebook, and that just got me thinking about kind of men and women and talk shows and late night hosts, and I don't know. So it starts from an idea and kind of goes from there.
And yes, and also you're really good at chapter titles too.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You are.
And I know some come to you and then they don't maybe turn into essays, but the titles are always slam dunks.
I don't know what it is. It's just this is more how my brain works somehow than
the book, not the water bottle.
Yeah. Fiction obviously is just structurally quite different than having an idea, writing about it, and finessing it. Fiction requires a lot more lipstick Google searches to like get it done.
Are there any similarities to how you develop a character for acting as opposed to developing the characters in like a novel?
I think it's kind of similar. I think the part of my brain that is thinking what my character would do is quite similar to when I'm working as a writer, and except that then I get to kind of play all the characters, and then as a screenwriter, I think in scenes, I think what would this person say next, and then I think, what if they surprise themselves? So it's like I think I plan or I map the scene out the way I imagine it would go between these two people, and then I go back in and wonder if we can't take a little more twists and turns. Because that's what happens to me when I'm reading. I don't know if you guys do this when you're watching TV. Maybe it's just like I've been in too much television. I say what I think the next line's gonna be, what the characters say.
Yeah.
And in certain shows, it's just really gratifying because you're always right. Because it's gonna be like, well, I guess that, I'll come up with a bad one. But like all the procedurals are like, she died at 11 o'clock. Oh, but he was there at 11:05. That's not really good, but you know what I mean.
We're workshopping.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know what might be the logical thing that would be said next, but I don't want that. You don't want that as an actor. That's one way you know when a script is not so fantastic. You read it and you're like, I knew it was gonna happen. That's no fun.
Right, yeah. So, can you talk a little bit more about your beginnings as an actor in like theater in New York and your beginnings in TV stuff? Ms. Graham, I just got so...
I don't know why you're
Hi,
so
nice to
formal
meet you.
today.
I'm a very important news journalist. I'm acting right now too. I've never met this beauty.
Well, Well, there's all kinds of ways of getting started. There was like getting started in elementary school and just wanting to be in the school play, even though I was like not loud or not like I am now. I was like very quiet and shy, but I did want to do, you know, whatever kind of theater there was. I went to a community theater audition with a friend, and I got a little part, and then I just kind of kept doing it. You know, I grew up in Northern Virginia, but it was just right outside DC, where they have so many wonderful programs for kids and theaters and museums, and my dad was single for a chunk of my childhood, and I don't think he meant to give me a culturally rich upbringing. I just think he like couldn't get a babysitter, so he just like took me to things, and I just happened to really like all of them. And so, and then in high school, I was in, my dad always remembers this, that when I first got to LA and I had some general meeting, the person said, you know, what's your experience? And I said, not much at the time, and I said, but I was Dolly in Hello Dolly in high school. That's exactly the reaction this executive had. No, his reaction was, everybody was Dolly. I was like, oh God, I've come to the big town. So there were all these different kind of entries, you know, and kind of ways of starting out. And then I did my freshman year, I got into an acting school. I went to acting school, and my high school boyfriend, we were still together for a while, but you know, that never works out. I'd go visit him in school in Boston, and he was like writing papers and reading things, and I was like working on my breathing and imagining what it might be to be a cheetah in the forest or whatever. And I was like, I think this is not school in the way I want to do it right now. And I was only 17 when I went to college. So I shifted and became an English major. So that was another time where it could have gone another way. You know, I was also like, maybe I'll teach, I don't know. And then, shout out for teaching. And then I got out of school, and I talk about this in the book. I had so many jobs that still didn't make my New York apartment rent.
This was in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, I had an apartment where you walk in to the kitchen, and then it had like 2 bedrooms off of the kitchen, and then there were like 3 stairs up to the bathroom, and there was no like place to live exactly. Like there was no like place to sit down, and that took every job I possibly could take. And then I went away to school and came back. So it happened in many ways.
And you did summer stock as well, right?
I did summer stock in order to try to get my actors' equity card, which is the theater union. But doing summer stock is really, they get you to be an apprentice, and you're like, wow, I'm gonna be an apprentice. I'm probably gonna be taken under the wing by one of the lead actors, and they're gonna show me the ropes. No, you clean the toilets, and you paint the fences, and then you're in like the 3rd row in the back of the chorus of Oklahoma, which is still an education and still fantastic, but so I did that for 2 summers to get my equity card, which then I didn't need again for like 25 years until I went to do Guys and Dolls on Broadway, and the
bushel in a bag.
And the equity rep came over like quietly, because I'm, with all these professionals. She was like, "You're not actually in the union."
What?
I was like,
know this.
well, I was, but it had lapsed for so long that I basically had to I had to go clean more toilets. They wouldn't let
on
me in.
Broadway, that's better.
Yes, but Broadway toilets are actually worse, but anyway.
Greg's on Broadway toilets, new chapter title for this book. Okay, now we're gonna do a little surprise round of trivia questions. What is the capital of Lithuania?
I don't know.
Wrong. Who won the best picture Oscar in 1998?
The best picture?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right.
What?
Titanic. You lost that one. Sorry, this gentleman won.
What does he win?
He'll see later. A warm hug. How many quarts in a gallon?
Don't do this. 4 or 2 or 6.
That's correct. Now, let's talk about directing.
Okay.
I was particularly fascinated by your essay, Red Hat, Blue Hat, in which you write about gearing up to direct an episode of, when you did an episode of Mighty Ducks, which I call
Let's just...
Mighty Ducks 2, What the Puck, not the title. Mighty Ducks 2, Still Quackin', not the title. And you talk about the sage advice given to you by the director John Turteltaub. And can you talk some more about that or share any other vital aspects of directing you learned while being an actor?
You have asked me this before, and I still don't understand the question, and I still don't know how many quarts are in a gallon, and I'm like, I have like a master's degree, and it's really just wrong that either of those things exist. What I learned as an actor working with directors is all the stuff I don't like, which I tried to not bring as a director. One thing, because it's different than in theater or film, when you're in a TV show, you've been there the longest. Like, you know best kind of what the backstory of your character is and all what episodes have come in. And so it's not that fun a job in a weird way, I think, for a TV director, because you kind of come in and, as somebody put it to me, it's like being asked to make dinner at somebody else's house, only with the ingredients they already have, and and make them what they tell you to make. Like, that's not fun. You would rather bring your own, ingredients. But so it's just kind of you're slotted in, and therefore, when a director comes in and wants to tell me a lot or explain a lot, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I understand. Like, I'm here every day. Like, so when I directed on the kids show, I just really wanted everybody to have a great time, and I wanted the kids to maybe, I don't know, think of, kid actors, they're so professional already. It's almost too bad. Like, you want them to just have a really good time, and so I just wanted them to have a sense of play, and the other thing about having done this for a while is you begin to see, you might feel this way at your job, if you've been at any job for a long time, you start to be like, I could really run the place. Like, I could do this better. Somebody's really excited to go fire their boss and take over. But you just begin to see how all the departments work together and what the difference is when you all have a really good day together as opposed to not such a great day. And I think it's really in valuing and understanding everyone's job. So the directing, it's always such a cliche when you're an actor or writer and you're like, what I really want to do is direct. But I think it happens organically when you gain experience and then you start to feel like, yeah, kind of, why not me? I just had a little thing on set one day which I thought was something I could bring as an actor to another actor, which is in this show, Mighty Ducks, there's a actress, Stephanie Weir, who played Josh Duhamel's assistant. Has anyone seen this show? Anyway, she's really good. It is really good. It is really good. I loved every minute of it. I wish it lasted longer. No, I'm like, I know what you're really here for. So I just like, you don't have to have seen the other episodes.
Bad Santa.
Exactly. So Stephanie had this scene where she's talking into a walkie. The kids have snuck out and she's like going after them and she's talking to whatever. And I said, who are you talking to? And she goes, oh. Like, she knew she was talking to someone in charge of the kids or whatever, but she hadn't like made it personal or like made it specific. And the next time she did it, it was just a little thing, but the next time she did it, she was like, oh, I know. Well, they're out again. Like, it just was more specific, like she was talking to someone she really knew. And those were just little things that I'm not sure, I don't know, just as an actor, that she gave me the idea and then I gave her kind of something to do with it. And that's just a really fun process.
That's good actor direction, which a lot of directors don't always know.
Well, most directors do not come from acting, but they come from filmmaking or, some technical experience or come from the
Being
study
a
of directing.
A DP, director of photography,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, and then people will say like, oh, I'm gonna take a couple acting classes, you know, to understand, and it's just not, it's not the kind of thing you can get. You can get some language,
Yeah.
but you can't really understand it, I think,
Great.
too
Thank you.
easly.
We're gonna do a little gear shift, and I wanted to everyone to learn about my dear friend, Old Lady Jackson, who has another friend called Uncle Peepaw Pancake, both of whom now enjoy as they age in an early dinner time. Can you talk to us about where Old Lady Jackson came from?
Old Lady Jackson, for those of you who don't know, is a character I have created in order to convince myself that I'm still cool. It's sad that I had to create an entirely fictional other character, but it began on the set of Parenthood when because when I was with Alexis on Gilmore Girls, we were kind of more close in age, and we were playing people who were supposed to be close in age, and we always kind of operated as partners and equals and peers. And in Parenthood, the kids were actually young, and they were teenagers, and then we had even younger kids, and I just suddenly found myself saying things to them that I was like, wow, I sound like somebody's mom, and I am playing their mom, so that's fine, but also I want them to like think I'm cool. Like all the stuff that I didn't have, wasn't worried about as Lorelai, where like people still come up to me and they're like, I'm just like Lorelai, and I'm like, ooh, you're in trouble, because because she had like a blast everywhere she went, but like, is that parenting? I don't know, I mean, sure. I mean, it is of a kind that I love and am devoted to, obviously, and you know, as are some of you, but this was more traditional, right? So I started saying like, hey, you know, I don't care. Get 10 more tattoos, but Old Lady Jackson wonders if you really need another one. Like, I just kind of like shoved it into this Old Lady Jackson persona, and then I mean they weren't fooled, and like they'd be like, oh, does Old Lady Jackson think we shouldn't go out tonight? And I was like, yes. So
Her birthday cake 2 years ago for May literally said HBD OLJ on it.
From Mae Whitman, who played my daughter on the show, who is one of my dearest friends, and who refers to herself as OLJ Jr. because she and I have been in show business for the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Because she started at like 2 or something. So she feels, I'm always like, you can't be tired of show business yet. She's like, I've been in this business longer than you. So like she turns into like a 40s Katharine Hepburn character.
There is a section in the Old Lady Jackson chapter that is my favorite part of this book, and it makes me really happy, and I'm just going to read a little bit to you guys if you haven't read it yet. And I think this is all very true. It's very useful to always have a friend who is much older and one who is much younger. The older friend will remind you what there is to look forward to, and the younger friend will keep you telling your stories over again, so you'll remember not to forget them. An older friend will tell you you have plenty of time yet, and a younger friend will make you forget time altogether, because when you're with them, you'll feel, even for a moment, that you're the exact same age. I think that's so beautiful.
This is one of the residual gifts of the work I've gotten to do that I would not have predicted, is having these friends who have played, in some cases, family members, become real friends and family members, and Kelly Bishop is one of them.
I was going to ask you about your relationship with Kelly.
Like my mom in Gilmore Girls, who is just such a fantastic actress, but also really treated me with the combination of incredible respect, and was always very supportive and complimentary, and also like a real good dose of bossiness, which people don't often boss me around for some reason. I mean, in this particular way where she'd be like, well, he's terrible, drop him. Like, I was like dating somebody or whatever, she'd just be like, well, I think he's beneath you. I don't think he's worthy. I wouldn't call him again. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, she just is so sure of herself, and it's that voice, you know, she's got that big, deep voice, because she's actually like a kitten. She's the sweetest, kindest. She just gets cast in those roles.
With a martini.
With a martini. And she's just really confident. And she came up, she was in the original cast of A Chorus Line on Broadway. And she's got that like dancer mentality, boy, that work ethic of, we'd be there at 2, 3 in the morning and she would not I never heard her complain. I never heard her ask to go home. I never heard her like anything except, yes, what can shall we do it again? Okay, fine.
This reminds me of something that I've told you before. It's about Kelly, if you guys don't mind me telling you. The first time I met her, my friend was doing the play 6 Degrees of Separation with her in the lead in LA, and I went to see them. There was another actor doing it, but Kelly was doing it this night. He's like, come to the night Kelly Bishop does it. There was an earthquake in LA during the show. We met her after the show and we said, did you feel the earthquake? And she said, absolutely not. So there was an earthquake? I was too focused.
That's amazing. That's exactly how she is. And we would, I don't know, this is a pointless memory, you're welcome, but we would have on these late nights kind of a signal for when it was time for us to share a bag of Cheetos, like a little bag of Cheetos, and she's like so delicate with her like nice nails and everything, and she'd be like, I think it's time. And we'd go get our like bag of Cheetos and have a Diet Coke and be like, well, how many more hours are we gonna be here? But anyway, she's one of my friends who I think about as someone who, she's constantly telling me how young I am, which is fantastic. And she's 80 and she is like, loves to work and she's just really inspiring.
So speaking of friends, we lost a friend recently. And I just want to know if you want to talk about that, maybe share about that a little bit.
So, I was friends with Matthew Perry for the last over 20 years. And I think almost because it never exactly worked out for us to exactly date is why we could be friends for so long. Because we had that kind of chemistry, but it didn't almost belong anywhere except in this kind of fun space of he dipped in and out of our lives but I tended for some reason to see him on my birthday. He was at my 40th and he'd always kind of show up, and this year he sent me a birthday card whose opening line was, "Be older." And I just say it like that because you can hear his voice in your head, and I was really glad to have gotten to spend time with him this last year, because again, we lose touch for long periods of time, and I just want you to know that he had such a happy year this year. Our books came out around the same time a year ago. And he got a real kick out of that. He was like, we're authors, he was really excited at that. And he was also so proud of the success of the book, and not just as a success, but as an indication of reaching people with his story of struggles. And it meant so much to him to think that maybe he helped save somebody. But it's really a shock still.
We're still in shock.
Yeah.
For sure. What kind of advice, gear shift, what kind of advice would you give to a young actor now starting out?
Oy. Is anybody an actor in here hoping to?
Let's make it wider, because we're not in New York or LA. Like someone starting out in their creative or any profession now.
Yeah. Writer.
Photographer.
Yeah.
Photographer.
Well, it's changed, obviously. I have a friend who is many years ago was a photographer, and when digital happened, he was like, I think my job is gone. Like, he was like, he'd print his own stuff and everything. So one thing I have been slow to adapt to is technology, because I don't like it. And just me being like, I don't like it is gonna make it stop? No. But So it is being aware of kind of where the business is. But I always think this, which is any creative pursuit, any pursuit really, it should feel like you're in at least a halfway decent relationship with it. Like in show business, it can be like you're literally sometimes just waiting for the phone to ring, and at a certain point you would not take that from a boyfriend. Why are you taking that from show business? Like, it should give you at least something so that it's not just taking from you. On the other hand, I don't know what got me through all those jobs except determination, and it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't, no one was encouraging me. No one was like, oh, you had a bad day? You're probably gonna end up in Gilmore Girls. Nobody said that. And relatively for our business, like I had worked at 7 Night Done Pilots and commercials and everything, but I was 32 when I got Gilmore Girls, and plenty of our friends had moved on to become yoga instructors or do something else, and I think both are valid. It's like, you should be happy in your day of work, and that's really the most important thing. And that is true whether your job is something you might perceive to be fancy, or like there's nothing I love more than just like walking into a shop and someone just doing a really fantastic job at their job, which may or may not be the job they really wish they had. Like I think somebody said this to me once, which is, do every job as if you're being well paid, which just shifts your sort of perspective to like, if you were being paid, 50 times more, would you have a bigger smile on your face? Like, what if you just act as if it's the dream job and it could only make your day and probably everybody else's day better?
Well, I wish I had had the essay in this book, Actory Factory, to read when I was just starting out. So I recommend that chapter for anyone who's starting out as an actor.
Yeah, I just wanted to do like a little kind of primer on like, what is it? Like, what is a day on set? Like, what are the pieces? Because all jobs, it seems to me, can kind of be broken down into like, now we fold the sweaters, now we sell the sweaters, now we whatever. Like, it's all, there's like these pieces you learn, and it's the same in what we do. It's like you gotta get, if we were filming this, you have to get Sam's coverage, and you get my coverage, and you get a 2-shot, then you turn around and get the beautiful audience. Woo! That was the one, like, shameless self-promotion I gave you, nobody bit. And also, yeah, sure. So it's pieces, and you're gonna do the same thing 50 million times, and so you just have to find a way to find the joy, I guess.
I'm going to ask you this, and I ask any of my friends that have crossed paths with this person who I'm obsessed with, as many of us are, but in the movie One True Thing, you got to work with Meryl Streep.
Yes.
Any memories of Meryl you can share with us?
Yes. Here's another thing, which is some of the things that happened to me happened at the wrong time, where I was not equipped to.
This was early in your career.
It was the second movie I ever did, and I hadn't been in LA very long, and also it was the first movie Renee Zellweger did after Jerry Maguire, and like we would go anywhere and people were like like losing their minds, and so I played her friend. It was a small part, but it was a long shoot, and it involves Meryl's character getting sick, so it's like kind of has, these stories take on a little bit of the tone of the story. So, when you're on set doing something sad, it's sad. And two things, what she had to do to prepare, I can only really imagine. But there was one morning, because you come in and do like a rehearsal, and then go away and finish hair and makeup and whatever, they light it. And Meryl was like couldn't clear her throat, and there was a bug going around. Then it was like winter in New Jersey, and I thought, oh, she's sick, and that's gonna really be a hard day for her and maybe for everybody. And then they called cut on rehearsal, and she was like, anyway, I'm just gonna go get some coffee. I was like, oh, she was acting. It was so convincing.
She's Meryl Streep.
It didn't even occur to me. Her character is sick and that's why she's doing it like that. And then the other thing was she was very kind to me, and at the premiere of the movie, she sort of like grabbed my hand and she said, I want to tell you something. She said, as an actor, you're a very good listener. And I said, what? Because I both kind of couldn't believe she had just said it, and also I was just like, she just gave you a compliment, faint immediately. Like I couldn't, so I went through this whole experience without really ever being able to, you know, grab her and be like, and would it be, I don't know, I'm always of two minds about this. I think it's hard to meet your people you really admire.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any advice about that. Just don't say, what?
We haven't touched on Zoe's extraordinary playlist. Which I really enjoyed. We both love Jane. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Jane Levy's a really good friend. She's one of my younger friends who I met through May, and we were just friends anyway. And somebody had dropped out or was being replaced from her pilot playing the boss. And she was like, I want you to do it. And I was like, nobody buys me as the boss. Like I'm like, wackadoo, let's get coffee or whatever. Like I once in my kitchen I was offered like a medical show, and I was like, were you there by the way? Have I told you this already? Okay. And I was like, I'm doing that with all the training and you know, whatever. I tried to do this medical show, and people were rolling. People were like, I was like, 2cc stat, and everybody was like, ah! So that's how I felt about playing the boss. And then they sent it to me.
You had to be mean, and you A,
Yeah.
you're not mean, and B, you don't usually play mean.
Well, I just didn't want to be also I feel like you see on network television a lot of like stern lady bosses, and I was like, I don't know. So I was like, maybe if she could be just sort of unpredictable, and like that she really is a fan of Jane's character, but like she doesn't want her to be an entitled, you know, youth. She wants her to like really be in her power, so whatever, all the backstory of that. But it was just so much fun, except that we were working in a warehouse in Canada that caught fire several times. But what are you gonna do? Because all these warehouses in Canada used to be something else. They used to be like a paper factory, and then they're like, they throw a couple cameras in there, and that suddenly you're filming. But anyway, that was a joyous show. Jane killed herself. Jane was unbelievable. You cannot understand the rehearsal. She did not sit down for 2 minutes, because to do those dance numbers, like there was no, and then we're recording, and it was really challenging, but it was fun for me to stretch a different category, and I wish we could have done more.
I am just interested in you singing more. We're gonna do another little lightning round, just for the kids to learn more about you, Lauren, and then we're gonna move to
I don't like the lightning round.
It doesn't matter what you like.
I don't want math in them, or measurement.
It's an either or.
Okay.
Margarita or martini.
Yeah.
Fajitas or nachos.
Fajitas.
Yeah.
Pancakes or waffles. Be very careful how you answer this.
Pancakes.
Yeah! London or Paris.
London.
Yeah.
True or false. True or false? Lasagna.
False.
Yes. What are some of your favorite books you're reading right now?
Oh, I'm reading The Covenant of Water, which is like not a bee tree, but is really fantastic. I really like this Richard Osman series. The Thursday Murder Club is really fun and funny. I just read Lisa Jewell's most recent one, which I think is called None of This Really Happened or something.
Yeah.
I really like a thriller, like nothing, not too gory, but just like a little like whodunit. And I don't know. Lessons in Chemistry, I know the TV show's out, but that book is really fantastic if you haven't read that. Sam, I think it's time for questions.
From the audience, and we have a little rule, which is that so we can get as many as possible, and just keep one question. And let's get to the question. We know you love me particularly very much and adore me, but we'll just get the questions. I think we have a friend. Oh, we can see you now.
Oh, there's like beverage
This
service.
theater is
Excuse me. You were so nice and well behaved. Is anyone like gonna fall in the aisles?
No, I didn't.
Hello on the end with the, I believe you have glasses. Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say you raised me like my mom and I grew up watching you on Gilmore Girls. And then I shifted into parenthood. And then Zoe. Oh my God, Zoe. But I just want to say, someday, maybe, will you read another novel?
Yes, I've been working on it for so long, and I owed it to them like 6 years ago or more. And every time they have me sign a new contract, and I'm like, why? Well, let's just all agree I'm gonna do it someday. It was meant to be
Someday, maybe.
Exactly. It was meant to maybe. It was meant to be a sequel to that book. It won't be because it's so long after, but it is. What I'm working on is that character, Franny Banks, and kind of what happened to her, and it is not what happened to me. Because what I realized is in order to continue the fiction of it, especially as she gets further into her career, I didn't want you to be like, well, that's not what Gilmore Girls was like, or like I didn't want you to be distracted by the parallel of like, that I'm secretly writing about my own journey, so that's what I'm working on right now.
Also, in the Gilmore Girls sequel show, I know May was in it. What was that like working with both May and Alexis?
It was really fun. They were really sweet to each other, and some people liked the aspect of the cameos, some people didn't. It was really fun. It was part of, for me, to be able to like put these little Easter egg kind of friends and family in there. Also, because nobody listened. I mean, I had more, it sounds weird, everybody was like, what do you want the show to be? And I was like, oh my God, it's the nicest question. I want my friends in it, I want like, so, I don't know, it's really fun. Sir. Yes, I mean, there aren't a lot of sirs here.
Hi, Sam, I just want to say you are the paprika that always makes whatever show you're on better.
Spice that makes it nice.
Thank you.
So I'm going to pose this question to you because I think this might be a question that a guy can answer better than little Miss Queen over here.
That was some sass.
Street brawl, fist fight. Lorelai, Mrs. Maisel, who wins?
Street fight between Lorelai and me and Rachel Brosnahan, who goes down?
Is this conversational rat-a-tat-tat back and forth?
No,
Wit?
I think it's a street brawl.
I don't want to watch ladies fight myself.
Me, obviously. Next.
You're taller.
Let's get somebody from the back. Yeah. Remember, you have to have a question.
I do.
Not a hypothetical fight scenario.
I'm also from Virginia, but the opposite part of Virginia, if you can't tell by my accent.
There's a Roanoke.
It's actually further south than Roanoke. It's a little place
Wow.
called Cana. But anyway, my question for you is, just being a Gilmore Girl fanatic, and the idea of you or Lorelai and Luke Danes getting together, did you and Scott Patterson have any sort of chemistry?
Honey, she did it. She dared to.
Absolutely not. Here's what I'll say to that. We did not ever take our work outside of the work. But I did date a couple of the other guys. I mean, who else was I going to meet? I was there for 16 hours a day.
It was all in Stars Hollow. You never came out Stars Hollow.
Yeah, okay, it's wavies, yeah.
Me?
I don't know if this microphone thing's. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Hi.
Mine's more of like a statement and kind of a question.
We're not sure. We'll have to take it to the
I
judges.
thought I said question.
Well, mine's means a lot to me. My mom passed away 10 years ago, and Gilmore Girls was kind of our show to watch. So I just want to say thank you for bringing that show and meaning so much to me and my mom, and being able to watch it now, and it still means a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you, and I just wanted to know if I could have a hug.
I want to tell you something, which is my mom passed away when she was 61, and that's now whatever that is, a long time ago. And
2005.
what? 2005. So somebody in the Gilmore Girls office sent her the tapes as they would become available, and no one had ever done that before. And it was a real source of bonding between us, that she lived in England and she had hardly ever seen anything I'd done. So I really understand what that is for you. And she would talk about the characters like they were real to her. Like it was something I was just really proud of, and really think about. It gives me comfort too. And I don't know how I'm gonna hug you from here, but.
Am I allowed to
Okay.
come up real quick?
I can't exactly hear you, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do. Okay.
One more, I think.
Maybe
You
mask.
decide. You decide.
Masked lady.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. I didn't know if there was a microphone. So well, okay, yes there is. I'm Megan. I'm from Pittsburgh, born and raised in West Virginia. Yep. Anyway, a lot of it, for so many of us, this show was so important. I told you during the meet and greet, it honestly probably saved my life. Just showing me that being driven and smart, and, not having everything be about who you're gonna date. I mean, although dating was part of it, was just so great to see for the generation of women that I grew up in. Was there any television show, book, anything like that for either of you that really just kind of hit home, or, kind of gave you that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, because this is a different tone, but Laverne and Shirley was kind of that. And they weren't in my time, but they were in my reruns of like Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda, and there were actually not so much in the family sense, because that is where TV still was more traditional, but in the I'm a working woman and I'm gonna make my way. Those were things that I really admired and still enjoy. Rhoda wasn't out there. If you haven't noticed, Rhoda's like the weirdest tone, because it's not jokey, kind of. It's really interesting, I think, to see how Half Hour evolved, but it's just a fantastic character. Let's do a couple more in the back, and then we gotta send you out into your martinis. Yes. Person going like this. Yeah.
They're gonna bring you a mic.
I did
We all
like
like
though
to
the
hear-
beginning was that she didn't have a question, she just had something to say, which we can't,
We gotta have a question.
I just wondered if you have any advice for overcoming a creative writing block.
Overcome creative story. I think the first thing you say, but this is harsh, I'm sorry, there is no writer's block. There's just your fear of not producing what you, I'm not saying to you, I'm just saying to people. I'm sure you work very hard, but it's really just, you're afraid it's not gonna be good enough, you're afraid. I'm in a writing group with, it's interesting because I'm in a couple different writing groups. First of all, get yourself in a writing group. It really, really helps. Of any kind of accountability, of just sitting and kvetching to one another, of okay, let's do 10 pages for next week, anything that just pushes it through. But there's a guy and it's interesting to be in a writing group with guys who I would think, and they're all screenwriters and they're successful, and this guy's working on a novel for the first time, and he's I just think who cares? And I was and his writing's so good. And I was I mean, who cares about anything? Who cares about if you say that, you'll never do anything. So it's just, you do a little bit every day, just get it out, and don't be perfect, just be done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, young person. you going like this?
Oh, yeah. The youth, the true
Let's see if we can
youth.
hear you. Let's see how your vocals are. Or we'll just wait.
Okay, I have the question of all questions that we all want to know the answer to. Are we getting more Gilmore Girls ever?
Here's the only thing I can say to you as the person I am. I will never say no. I will always say yes.
Okay, so can you convince Amy? Can you convince Amy?
I can't hear you.
Can you convince Amy?
I think Amy would probably always say yes. I'm not saying there's anybody who's not there, but you think that I know more than I do. I really don't. And Amy went on to be like, you know, to have all the success with Maisel, and she's doing another show that is like ballet dancers in France. Like, but we are friends, and we know there is an appetite, and also we're scared. We're scared to do it in a way that isn't satisfying. But for me, for my little corner of everything I experienced there is the most positive, lucky. I can't believe I even got one part like that in my whole career. I am full of gratitude still about it. It's why when I see you guys and I feel how loving you are and what a community has built up around this experience, and that we can share this kind of time together to like be appreciative that we have it, that we had it. It's like, it means the world to me. And so as much as I have given to you, or the show has given to you, or Sam has given to you, like, we feel it, we feel it tenfold back, and it's just so beautiful, and I just want to say thank you. And
I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone for just you being you and how amazing you are. Not just as but as a friend, whether in real life or virtually. We think you're all pretty fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Graham.